My name's Rex. Joe call me Captain.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
The shroud of the dark side has fallen.
Calling fives. On heavy.
Begun. The Clone War has.
Hello, and welcome to The World Between Worlds, a Star Wars podcast. This is episode 9, where we will be discussing the Clone Wars episodes, Season 1, Episode 15, Trespass, Season 1, Episode 17, Blue Shadow Virus, and Season 1, Episode 18, Mystery of 1,000 Moons. My name is Yates.
Jordan as well.
There's 2 Jordans here?
It's shocking, I know, Yates.
All right, excellent. So Trespass is an interesting episode that focuses on Anakin and Obi-Wan venturing to a desolate, isolated planet, an ice planet, not unsimilar to Hoth. They're there initially to scout out what looks like an attack on a Republic clone base, and they later discover to be an identical attack upon a Separatist droid base.
685 to command. There are too many of them. They've overrun the base. We need reinforcements.
What was that? Whatever it was, it's a good warrior.
The droid's log indicates they were investigating the Southern Canyon.
So the Jedi come to discover that the attacks were not performed by any sort of Separatist superweapon or anything. There is no potential threat to the Republic. What is there is an indigenous people called the, Jordan, busted out.
The Tals.
The Tals. And the Tals were, a Tal character was in A New Hope, correct? So it's an original trilogy design?
Yeah, he's in the cantina scene.
Was their story different, like in the EU? Was this a change for the Tals?
I never really knew much about them. I always loved the 2D Clone Wars Tals Jedi character.
Yeah,
and they changed the way they speak. In this one, they're like, but in the 2D, it was like. Right.
We got here first, folks. The desolate ice planet of Ordo Plutonia is owned officially by a new race in Star Wars, the Pantorans, represented chiefly by the Chairman Cho character and Senator Chuchi. Am I saying that right? I literally, when I was saying it, I felt like I was going insane.
No, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Senator Chuchi and Chairman Cho. Both very different characters, and both have very different ideas about the planet. And to get into it, for me, this episode was interesting, chiefly in that it seemed very disconnected from the Separatist Republic story, the whole general story of the Clone Wars. This is about a new group of people and a totally internal conflict that the Jedi have to figure out, and it hardly involves swinging lightsabers at all.
We've arranged a meeting between their High Council and you and the Senator. They want peace.
We can't send troopers. They'll think we lied.
These creatures are little more than animals. You can't lie to an animal. They can't be trusted.
But Your Majesty...
No. It is obvious these creatures are not covered by the Convention of Civilized Systems. The Jedi Council has no say in the matter.
It's sort of Obi-Wan and Anakin assuming the roles of what we might imagine the Jedi were like before the war. Just the little glimpses that we got in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and this kind of ties back into last week's episode in a different way, where it's like, what if the Jedi go to a planet that's a neutral planet, and how are they going to deal with neutrality as opposed to separatists and the Republic?
Yeah, definitely. And then the linchpin that I think sets this apart from that episode last week is the complication that the chairman presents, which is it's essentially about, land ownership and who has the right to own the land.
It's like the opposite of last week. It's like land ownership here, and then the other one's just everybody do whatever you want.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so the Tals are Presumably they've been there. This is their home world. Chairman Chochi does not want to respect their sovereignty, and he was interesting in the sense that I felt like there was almost no like actual motivation. We didn't get to see like why he was that way. He was just like, this is mine. My whole life is about this. It's about taking your land away from you. And the Jedi just sort of have to kind of roll with it. You know, they don't directly oppose him, but instead they try and circumvent him or try and do whatever they can to steer him away from going into direct conflict with the Talls.
I feel like this episode is very like politically driven.
Yeah.
Because Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't really do anything except just like, oh, we can't get involved in this because the politics won't allow it. Even when like the senator girl, I forget her name.
Juchi.
Sure. when she was like, oh, like I think she was like nervous about the whole thing, so she wanted Obi-Wan to represent Pantora, but he was like, I can't do that.
It is sort of like a classic like story of like a big power colonizing this land that doesn't belong to them. But you know, in this, the Talls are like they're not threatening. Well, I was gonna say they kind of are threatening because they kill like a lot of clones.
Yeah, they wipe them out.
Yeah, but it's not because they initiated it. It's because they felt like they were being invaded. They were doing it defensively. They weren't.
They seem pretty intimidating on those giant like beast things that they ride. I think it was the power of numbers because there was Rex said, 11 dead and the rest wounded, and there was like 3 clones left. So it was like 100 of like these Tals versus like 12 clones.
Yeah, and the whole dynamic shifts when at the end of it, in order to break up the fight, the Clone Republic transports come and drop off all the clones, and they have all these giant gunships. And it's clear that in that scenario, if things get hostile, the Talls probably. They had the home field advantage because it's their home world, and the Chairman Chochi wasn't expecting like a difficult fight. He underestimates them. Yeah, against like the clone army, they probably wouldn't have stood a chance.
I 100% agree.
Captain Rex and his squad were really like, this is probably one of their most standout performances, I suppose.
Why would you say that?
Because the actors were really good.
Yeah, all those actors. How did they get all those people that sound the exact same?
Yeah. No, just the way that they went about the battle sequence. You have that one amazing, like really cool sweeping shot of the chairman about to die, but then Rex saves him.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Anakin gives Rex express orders, just like do your best to keep this from becoming horrible, and Rex does that, and he keeps the chairman alive up until the very end, where the chairman just sort of croaks.
I died for my people.
Yes. He was willing to die for that.
I'm so happy for him.
Because now he's dead, and we can really go back to normal.
Good for you, dude.
I thought one thing that was interesting was that they all had red eyes. So it was kind of... So, like, right off the bat, they're not going to be good news.
They have red eyes?
Yeah, they're like red-orangish.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point. They definitely are probably one of the more alien-looking designs in all of the prequels. I mean, like, obviously, like, Kit Fisto looks more alien or something like that. But
Duros.
Yeah, but, like, in terms of, like, it's definitely, it's a human face with a paint job, basically. That whole style of alien, and I thought the Pantorans were very distinct, and the colors and the patterns on their faces I thought were like
I like that they had like little paint designs on their faces.
Yeah, I like that too. It was cool.
They were kind of like a civilized society
versus
with like
an uncivilized society.
But they also felt like primal at the same time with like the little like tribal like paint jobs on them.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So they had like a little bit of both.
I'd be curious to see what their home world looks like, because I thought the character design itself looked cool, and Chairman Chochi's costume looked cool. Sort of imperial, and then sort of like Eastern European stuff too. I thought that was cool.
Can you say Chochi again?
Speaking of the costumes, I mean, new content we're getting between like the planet, the new species, the new costumes for the Jedi. The new costumes for the stormtroopers, clone troopers,
and it was obviously super cool seeing Anakin and Obi-Wan walk out, and they both kind of look like Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a very obvious homage to Empire.
Yeah,
it was pretty on the nose, but I did like the touch of it wasn't just a straight up blue and white jacket. It was they actually had like the Jedi emblem.
Yeah.
It's not a logo.
It's an emblem. You're right. I'm sorry. They don't have a PR team at the Jedi Council. They just have a bunch of old scriptures that they put on their stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Sick patches.
Yeah, some sick patches.
We also get, I believe this is technically the first canon hug in Star Wars.
Keats made a big note of that. He was like, we were watching and he was like, ooh, hug. And then I was like, what are you writing down? First canon hug.
Yeah, I mean, chronologically that is, because we Wookiees hug all the time, but chronologically this is probably our first hug.
So big, hairy aliens hug.
Yeah, I guess that's the pattern here.
I really liked Obi-Wan in this episode. Anakin was sort of classic Anakin, and he didn't really have much of an arc here, but Obi-Wan, I felt like there was a lot of sort of rising up to this challenge and sort of a lot of measured thinking, which I think we associate with Obi-Wan in general as just, Obi-Wan's smart and Obi-Wan has a lot of capacity for empathy, but we haven't really seen that side of Obi-Wan a lot so far in all the Star Wars content that we've watched so far. I think this was probably the most leading towards that I've seen. But also, Obi-Wan makes the emphasis to really make, the peace last, which I thought was like the biggest difference and the sign of there being lots of positive things to the Jedi that we hadn't really gotten to see yet, I think, which was, just Obi-Wan.
This is the Jedi bashing podcast because we're constantly just making fun of how hypocritical and almost like sometimes evil that the Jedi are, and this is really hits home to how peaceful they are.
And also sometimes there's just can be very short-sighted too, like the whole idea of getting into the Clone Wars or like becoming generals. But Obi-Wan here is like, no, like you should really handle. We'll do our best, but kind of what Qui-Gon says in the Phantom Menace, which is like, we will assist you, like we will assist you guys directly and support you, but you have to take.
I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for you.
Yeah, so you've got to go, and I'm not going to solve this conflict. You are going to walk in and do it yourself.
Which leads into one of the most powerful moments of the episode. Wouldn't you agree, Keats?
Yeah. I mean, this episode, I watched it twice, and the first time I was kind of like, yeah, this is fine, but the second time I saw it, I actually started tearing up to how powerful the moment was with what's her name? Senator Chuchi. Yeah, when she raises her stick and tries to represent her people and make a peaceful solution, because she's been stepped on the entire episode. Yeah. So to see her to take leadership and actually do a really, really good job is just really satisfying.
To die for one's people is a great sacrifice. To live for one's people, an even greater sacrifice.
Chum chala mobi chofi, chum chali yubi chofi che.
I choose to live for my people. What do you choose?
Yeah, and I guess that's a whole other point. Is I think Keats, you talked about all the mansplaining that Chairman Cho does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's pretty. Chochi does not really do anything to make you like him even for 1 second in this.
I mean, she gets cut off at least 5 times in this episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does. He does do one thing.
He dies?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Blue Shadow Virus. We got Padme. We got Pink Gungan Lady. What's her name? Peppy
Bao.
Peppy Bao. So the Separatists sent a couple of droids, I guess they're like scouts or something, to Naboo again. So now Naboo is afraid of being invaded, just like in episode 1 of the show, The Phantom Menace. So then Padme is on her way to Naboo with Senator Binks and C-3PO to investigate.
Dream Team once again from Bombad Jedi.
Dream Team
Went
once again.
Really well last time.
It's going to go great this time too, and it does. So then that's when they're investigating, and that's when they run into Peppy Ledoux. And her little fat cow things die, and then they figure out, oh no, there's a virus.
And big dramatic shot where the water leads straight to Theed Palace, and everyone's gonna die.
Super dramatic. And then they find a secret base that's hidden under a swamp, and that's when they run into one of my favorite Star Wars characters, Dr. Scientist Nuvo Vindi.
Yes.
Ooh.
And he has glasses.
And not forget, a comical hazmat suit.
It's so good.
He's so cool.
He reminds me of a SpongeBob character when he puts that thing on.
He reminded me of The Incredibles specifically.
SpongeBob meets The Incredibles.
So in short, it's goofy, but it's cool. And he has, he also has a goofy evil German Nazi scientist, like the most generic cartoon evil voice.
I am creating the Blue Harvest virus.
He's like a G.I. Joe character. Like,
Yeah. Total throwaway.
Who fights for freedom wherever there's trouble? G.I. Joe.
But he's got the most adorable droid companion, a rabbit droid,
Yeah.
as it's listed in the credits.
I mean, in
really?
general,
Yeah.
I thought Nuvo Vindi was a good villain. I think because Anakin and Obi-Wan don't really have the usual tools in their arsenal to deal with something like that until they do in the next episode. But in this episode where they're trapped and they don't really know exactly what to do, Nuvo Vindi is able to adequately threaten them with this bomb, which of the Blue Shadow virus, which
Pretty threatening.
yeah.
The virus in its gaseous forms, combined with these bombs, will release the Blue Shadow virus back into the galaxy. More potent than ever before.
Are you insane? It's a deadly disease. No life forms are immune to it. That's why it was eradicated.
You mean murdered? Take this away.
Keats, you mentioned before that this story does have more to do with the Separatists, and true, while there are some more battle droids, a little bit of that going on, I think what I liked the most about Vindi, Dr. Vindi, was the fact that he doesn't seem all too loyal to the Separatists and is fully aware that his virus is not just going to wipe out the Republic, which perhaps, Separatists like Newt Gunray were hoping for, but that he has ambitions to really exterminate the entire human race. And I keep thinking about this more and more because, Jordan, we talked about it last week, but where he's just like, he calls the droids like his non-humanoid friends or something. And so he seems to be like all about, once again, wiping out all biological life, but he also seems to have a really strong affection for the droids. So I think that's another, a small wrinkle in just like...
Does he? Because he
has the one line, and he speaks about it knowing like, oh, you guys are going to benefit from this because everyone else will be gone, but it's cool if you guys are still around. Like, he's like...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's another...
Then again, he does like have his assistant droid commit suicide.
Yeah, but for the greater good of all the droids.
It's true.
He was a hero.
You guys really loved that rabbit droid.
Yeah, he's adorable.
I was hoping like Padme would adopt him or something.
You've said that about all the droids, Keats. You're like, I just hope they get to bring him home, like with R3. It's like, what if Ahsoka? What if R3 turned good? Like,
what if they turn good? I mean, I thought he was like, I forgot that
R3's the gold one, right?
Yeah, the black and gold R2, all three units.
The evil R2.
Yeah.
Keats is like,
screw that.
I thought he was gonna turn coat though, because his name's Goldie, Heart of Gold. He's gonna be like.
It was a good theory.
Yeah. But yeah, I was hoping, since he didn't like speak or anything, that he was, when he hid underneath the table, he was gonna be like, that Padme was gonna like reel him out, and then he was gonna become good.
But instead, he barks at her.
Yeah. It's really funny. Then he runs away again.
Yeah.
He's a coward.
But yeah, so that's another, yet another character in addition to Grievous, and potentially the other characters we don't know that much that are like sympathetic to the plight of droids. I'm not sure if it's like a throwaway line. It could be, them just writing the mad scientist character as quirky. It absolutely could be that. But, I don't know. I like the idea that some of those characters are siding with the droid army for a reason, and that there's at least some people there that are thinking that way.
It could also just be that he's so wacky that he can't identify with real living beings, and he can only identify with non-living beings.
Yeah, listen to everything that he says. You're absolutely right. I mean, the guy's,
just a giant outcast.
Exactly.
Freaking weirdo.
I thought he was your favorite character.
I hate him.
We talked about the costumes before, like the hazmat suits.
Yeah,
Jar Jar's like whole
head,
his whole head like being shrunken down.
I thought that was really funny.
It was like the funniest thing.
Every time they cut to Jar Jar, and it's just his like eyes just like look 3 times bigger when they're closer to his head.
That and like his like whole body is like 3 times bigger.
Yeah.
Than the suit can carry. Another new addition, Peppy Bao. Our first female Gungan. I mean, we've had female Gungans in like the background of the Gungan city from the Phantom Menace, but this is the first speaking role from a female Gungan. And I don't know, I thought she was pretty hot. How about you guys? Jordan thought she was pretty hot. How about you guys?
All right, it's the next episode.
So transitioning from Blue Shadow Virus into Mystery of a Thousand Moons, we leave off with Dr. Nuvo Vindi being captured finally through Peppy Bow's master tackle, or so we thought, until we realized that one of the vials is missing and the rabbit droid has it.
Your favorite rabbit droid is responsible.
Our boy, rabbit droid, dies for the greater evil, unfortunately. And releases a deadly toxin that could kill the entire universe.
Yeah, well...
Maybe he's not that great. So Ahsoka, Padme, and Rex and his squad are down there.
And Representative Binks.
Oh, and Representative Binks.
I noticed Jar Jar was literally the only one who wasn't dying.
Me too.
Every other person was dying, and then Jar Jar, that would be so sad. Just they open the door and just Jar Jar is just like mourning all their dead bodies.
I was thinking about that, but I was also thinking, man, he really is a Sith Lord.
Yeah, he's literally responsible for Padme's suit being contaminated.
Yes,
it's true.
He was too dumb.
So Ahsoka, Padme, and Captain Rex and his squad try to make it to the safe room and are able to successfully make it, but unfortunately, just a little bit of blue gas got into the room, and now they're slowly dying. And while Anakin and Obi-Wan are about to escort Nuvo Vindi to the Senate for a trial, they find out about their comrades trapped inside the bunker and take the lead in trying to find an antidote.
So, you think you found a cure? Possibly. A little-known extract made from Rixa root. A weed-like vine found only on Iego, the world of 1,000 moons. Deep in separatist-controlled space. Let's go.
On the moons of Iego,
I think.
Which is from episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
A throwaway line. Well, it's not really a throwaway line. It's how he starts to hit on Padme for the first time at age 6.
I thought it looked cool, all the junk like everywhere, and just like a planet being surrounded by a bunch of moons, like in a really close vicinity.
It was cool. It was a nice dynamic environment. It's different than what we've had so far. While still obviously like the first season of Clone Wars has a lot of planets that are pretty plain, just because of I'm sure the budget.
Christophsis is probably the most complicated planet.
Yeah, and even so, it's sort of like very homogenous. It's like the same thing throughout the whole thing. But
yeah, literally, like in this, all there is like walking in the background are Ithorians.
Yeah,
it was just bothering.
Yeah, right.
It was bothering me.
Yeah, but like the design, I think was like different than what we've had before.
Yeah, if you watch the behind the scenes featurette with Dave Filoni, he talks specifically about George having a very specific vision for Iego and the angels of Iego, which we'll get into momentarily, but. We go to Iego to find the root that will formulate the antidote for Ahsoka and Padme and Rex and his squad. Once they arrive, they come across a lot of battle droids, and they have markings all over them, and they aren't going according to protocol. What were your guys' first impressions on that?
Well, I mean, the first impression is that Anakin is so worked up that he just mows down them, even though they're like, "Hi, welcome to Iego," and then Anakin just mows them all down. And even Obi-Wan says, like, "Great, you feel like a tough guy now. You just killed a bunch of unarmed battle droids."
It's like, congratulations, Anakin. You successfully destroyed 17 unarmed battle droids without getting a single strat. I remember because I laughed my ass off.
So, yeah, there's that. I mean, it's kind of like, Anakin isn't thinking. And, to answer your question, I mean, Anakin sees a battle droid and Anakin thinks, kill. But, in this case, they're...
Well, he's just so anxious. This whole episode is just an anxious mess.
Yeah. And we can get into
whenever
that.
Padme's involved.
You must move cautiously if you...
There's no time for caution. My Padawan is trapped down there, and so is Padme. I mean, Senator Amidala.
I applaud your courage, General Skywalker. But it's suicide. Once we contain the virus, we can send troops.
No. Obi-Wan and I can handle it.
I concur, Anakin.
And with the universe being at stake, it really puts everything into perspective, and it actually gives all of our characters sort of a personal stake to overcome.
Well, for Obi-Wan and Jar Jar and Padme and a lot of the characters, yes. But for Anakin 100% is more concerned about Padme and Ahsoka than he is with the galaxy at large. Obi-Wan even has to check him on it a couple times, just like Anakin, the galaxy, like the whole galaxy is at stake, not just Ahsoka and Padme, not just Naboo. And I think at the beginning of the mission, he's like, we have to be prepared, even if we lose Naboo, we can still save the rest of the galaxy. And of course, Anakin is probably like,
he doesn't say anything.
Not even, yeah, exactly. Not even listening at all. He's totally like in his own world where he's already, trying to think of a way where he can save everyone.
Yeah, that's totally. I think Anakin kind of fails in his trial where he has a personal victory for himself where he saves Padme and Ahsoka, but his trial was more about if he's able to overcome attachment as a Jedi and
make the right decision.
Not make the right decision, but more just like sort out your priorities between the universe and between the ones you love. And he failed, but he won for himself, but he still failed overall.
Padme and Ahsoka will be fine.
They will be, if we succeed.
And then we find out that the droids are under command from some Master Jabo, and they say that
Master Codebreaker.
Master Jabo requests an audience, and they're like, "Who is this Master Jabo?" And then it's just some 6-year-old.
Yes.
And he has the voice of a 22-year-old, but it's pretty good. It's pretty funny, so I like it.
Of a Shonen Jump anime character.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said.
Hey!
Welcome to Iago! He had a really cool design. I just really like the idea of a kid being in charge of a bunch of battle droids. It reminded me a lot of it reminded me a lot of like Goonies or Lost Boys, just like a bunch of teenagers who are empowered to a certain extent.
Well, for me, I thought I was getting like more of a fairy tale vibe, like going back to the kids, like.
You could call both of those fairy tales.
Sure. You're right. But like go back, I guess, to the fairy tale element of the Phantom Menace, like focusing on the young child's point of view, and then also I think The Last Jedi is also an example of like the value of like having like a kid in this narrative, like it's a fresh pair of eyes, and Anakin and Obi-Wan go off and fight a war, and they come back, and they're still just poor kids living out in the slums in the Outer Rim, and they're like, oh, hey there.
Yeah, and even Anakin is able to identify with him a little bit. He stirs up a conversation about how he was able to program the droids.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, your stuff. Want to see how I built them? He's like, no, we're busy, actually. We're generals.
Yeah.
I love seeing stuff like this in Star Wars where you go to places that look so different and that you're not expecting.
The fairy tale element also goes further in that, there's hearsay that you can't leave the planet because of a ghost, like the ghost of, I guess, the former leader of the planet.
Yes, we are. The planet is cursed.
Cursed by whom, my twitchy friend?
The ghost of Drawl, that's who.
A ghost?
The spirit of the Thousand Moons, our protector and destroyer.
If you ask me, sounds like a load of
superstition.
That's one word for it.
There is a supernatural threat, which I don't think we've had in Star Wars yet. Obviously, there's the Force, but just that there is something out there.
The idea of urban legend in Star Wars, you would think it couldn't be done, but they did it pretty well here, I think.
Yeah, but they also explain it in a way that, of course, in this case, it was not a supernatural entity. It was
just the Separatists.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, of course.
But Mr. Hobo Man.
Don't go past the ruins, or else you'll be perished.
I thought he was gonna be like a mole, like that, he sold out to the Separatists to get a bunch of money, and he
he spread the word.
Yeah, he spread the lie because he was like a village elder, and everyone would believe him.
He could have. We don't know.
We don't know. Yates' theory number 1.
Dave Filoni, get back on us.
Yeah, he'll make a canon for me.
So initially, Obi-Wan and Anakin find that whole legend to be so extreme and superstitious, so they attempt to escape the planet anyway. And then they see that they're being attacked by a giant satellite dish. So you even see it from the Iago people's point of view, where they're looking up to see if they'll make it, and then you see it almost looks like a star chart. So they go back and the boy's like, huh? Guess I was right, huh?
Well, Star Wars 101 is that if your plan's not working, you go and you start some sort of grassroots rebellion, and that's kind of basically what they do. They're just like, hey, we need your droids. We need to work together as a team, and then you'll be able to get out of here.
Do you think Do you think they believe them though? Like I feel like some people might still be superstitious and.
I mean, sure. I think that they were superstitious, but I think that the fact that they were able to show some kind of change with the explosions in the sky, I think most of them believed it.
That's true.
And then more people will leave, and more people will believe it, etc. Life goes on. But we completely brushed over one specific callback: the angel. So I love this. I love weird, high power concepts in Star Wars like this, and we get more as the show goes on, but I would love to know more about the angels.
Yeah, me too.
It reminded me a lot of one of the books I read in lead up to The Last Jedi, which was The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, where Luke, not to give it away or anything, but Luke is confronted by some kind of high being force user. I think they're called the Mistweavers, but we don't know anything about them.
It was the best story in the book.
It was the best story in the book because it's something we don't know anything about, but it hints at some sort of larger meaning. And I just love stuff like that. And the Clone Wars episodes that I'm familiar with that present that for you are really, really strong. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, I feel like the mediums that you can get away with stuff like that is the animated shows and the books and the comics.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be weird,
and
in a live action movie.
And hopefully episode 9.
Yeah, you never know.
And hopefully the Rian Johnson trilogy.
But yeah, you never know.
And hopefully the Benioff and Weiss movie.
Yeah, you never know.
Hopefully the Kenobi movie.
Yeah, you never know.
And hopefully the Darth Maul movie.
Yeah, you never know.
And hopefully the live-action television series.
Yeah, you never know.
And hopefully the Aunt May Solo movie.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know.
Well, what don't you know? Anakin and Obi-Wan successfully get the antidote, and they return to Naboo, and are able to bring out Ahsoka, Padme, Rex, and his crew, and...
Which, how do they do that? Because Padme...
They don't show it. It's
But Padme
fine.
was like, promise me that no one will ever open this door.
And presumably they've already mass-produced the antidote at this point because Star Wars science.
Well, I'm not assuming anything. They need to explain it to me, okay? I'm not just going to put the pieces together.
Maybe they just chopped it up, and it's one little sprinkle inside each antidote.
This is another Padme-centric episode. I think it helps going back to Naboo and sort of refocusing the story, because in Attack of the Clones, she does go back to Naboo, but it's not quite the same. She's hiding, and it's more of a passive role for her versus what we know her from Phantom Menace, which rewatching, I really liked Padme in Phantom Menace. I thought her character, was like a character of action, and that was cool. And in Attack of the Clones, it's not really that way. But here, we see how important her home is to her.
Padme is given the dilemma of blaming... I mean, it's not this wouldn't be a big trial for Padme specifically, but she is given the dilemma of blaming Jar Jar for possibly her death, but instead she just is it's okay. These things happen. Immediate forgiveness to someone who doesn't effing deserve it.
Please don't say that, please.
No, I'm just kidding. He's great. Jar Jar is the best in this episode. This is probably his funniest episode. There's one moment where Padme is talking to Anakin on comm, and then Jar Jar is just running back and forth in the background screaming.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I like Jar Jar in this too. Well, in this, he's Anakin ran to Padme, and Obi-Wan ran to Jar Jar and took off Jar Jar's helmet and said, Jar Jar, are you okay? And then Jar Jar said, I think you just said me so happy to see. Obi-Wan does like Jar Jar. He just doesn't like to show it sometimes.
Oh yeah, and he compliments him. He's like, I heard you were very brave down there.
I know.
Oh, and then Rex was like, I am not training.
yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
because they were like, oh, you're gonna get some training to use your weapon.
Ahsoka is given the strongest trial that she's had so far, which is, is she willing to give her life to save the queen?
What a waste.
With all due respect, Senator, it's what these men were born to do.
I hope that their sacrifice brings us closer to peace.
It will, Padme. You must believe that...
Ahsoka!
I respect her so much in this episode.
I know, yeah.
She's awesome.
She basically dies and then gets revived.
The mission comes first.
Mission comes first.
This is just, and we're reaching the end of season 1. That's a lot of growth in one season.
Once it finished, I was like, I hope Ahsoka gets some kind of promotion or some kind of.
I always just saw her as like just Padawan or a child, but in this episode, I really saw her as like a leader.
Well, it's been fun. That concludes the 9th episode. Next week will be the 10th episode that we've been doing World Between Worlds. Very excited. And it is the season 1 finale of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. We already made it we made it pretty far, pretty quick.
Yeah, I thought this was going to take like probably an extra couple weeks, but now we're already finished with the first season. This is like probably one of the few arcs I haven't seen before, but this was a really good arc. This is probably my favorite one that we've come across so far from when we started the podcast. So season 2, I mean, it just goes uphill from here. So if you're liking the content, that's great. It only gets better.
Jordan, you have anything nice to say?
Free Dr. Scientist.
What happens to Dr. Scientist? I don't remember.
He's in jail. He did nothing wrong.
I don't think he comes back.
I don't think he comes back either. Maybe we see him in jail for 5 seconds.
That'd be cool.
Fingers crossed. We see Dr. Scientist in the future.
Dr. Nuvo Vindi.
Dr. Nuvo's Scientist Vindi. And next week, we will be watching Season 1, Episode 19, Storm Over Ryloth, Season 1, Episode 20, Innocents of Ryloth, and Season 1, Episode 21, Liberty on Ryloth, the last episode of Season 1. And Jessica will be back to talk about those episodes with us. My name is Yates.
My name is Jordan. No, I'm just kidding. It's been Keith this whole time. We probably already knew that. And this is Jordan.
May the Force be with you.
Anyone else think it was really funny when it looked like Anakin was going to pull out a lightsaber, but he pulled out a gardening shovel?
Yes, it was hilarious. It was like
don't remember that.
He whips it out and he has like this super intense like look on his face, and it's just him holding a mini shovel.
Yeah.